So welcome everyone to the Advisory Committee meeting, July 18th. I see my members, so we do have a quorum, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We have no consent items. Councilmember Hancock, do you approve the minutes of June 20th, 2025?
I do.
Okay, I approve them as well. We'll move those forward. We have a presentation by Alyssa Dingberg. She's the Director of Strategic Federal Funding Coordination at the Governor's Office of Federal Funds and Strategic Initiatives. Thank you, Alyssa, for being here and presenting. We look forward to the information, and we'll go ahead and let you get started.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Hopefully this works. Can you all see that okay? Okay, I can't see you. Let me move you there. Just get my windows situated. Can you all see my screen?
I can see it, yes.
You can? Okay. Can you just see the window? Because I can't see what you're seeing. You can just see the presentation?
Yes, I see the presentation,
Okay.
Federal policy shifts and local consequences.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Well, I really appreciate it. As Angela said, my name is Alyssa Dingberg. I'm the Director of Federal Funding and Strategic Coordination with the Governor's Office. My presentation style is fairly relaxed. So if you have any questions throughout, feel free to stop me. Feel free to put them in the chat. And you all will also have a link to this presentation as well. So don't feel like you need to take pictures or anything like that. All right, so let's just quickly talk about some active litigation that the state is involved in. Right now, for terms and conditions, the Department of Transportation, there's a preliminary injunction granted for that one. The Department of Homeland Security, the department walked back some of the applications on some of the terms and conditions on that active litigation. As far as funding freezes, we are seeing these coming back. When the administration first took over, we did see significant freezes. However, right now, most of the freezes are held up within FEMA funds. And then as of this week, the U.S. Department of Education is challenging the withholding of $70 million in formula funding to local school districts. We are starting to see some litigation around tariffs and grant terminations as well. I have a link at the bottom for it's a link to Just Security. It's a litigation tracker that tracks all of the litigation that's happening right now across the country, and it gives you up-to-date information on where things stand. A couple weeks ago, the state of Colorado released the federal funding cuts dashboard. There's a QR code there that takes you directly to that dashboard. This dashboard shows funds that the state has successfully defended, that the state is at risk to lose, and that funds have been canceled. So the dashboard's getting updated, I believe, on a weekly basis. So you'll just have to check back for updated information. The interesting thing about this is that you can actually filter it by agency to see specific funds in agencies that are defended at risk and canceled. So it really helps you narrow down to understand that. So now some updates on the One Big Beautiful Bill. So the acronym is OBABA. Still haven't gotten used to saying that yet. So these are pretty high level updates on it. So we're seeing some cuts to SNAP. So the new state cost share will be updated with a reduced administrative cost reimbursement. There are cuts to Medicaid with reduction to hospital provider fees, new work requirements and increased eligibility verification. And it extends the 2017 tax cuts and adds new businesses and individual deductions. There is a rapid phase out of renewable energy project tax incentives, and then it rescinds unobligated funds in a number of different agencies. So here's a chart that shows the 10-year deficit increases or decreases. It's broken out by different categories. So you can see the red is increases to the deficit and the green is decreases to the deficit based on the current bill. Some federal funding updates. So for the energy tax credits, we are seeing a lot of changes here. Effective January 1st, 2026, it will include a modified eligibility timeline and project qualification criteria for energy tax credits. So this is a direct pay. Solar and wind projects that are still eligible for tax credits include projects that are happening before January 1st, 2026, and projects that have started construction by January 1st, 2026. And then commercial and personal EV tax credits available until September 30th, 2020. We're also seeing geothermal tax credits remain available as well. If you have additional information, we do actually have somebody on our team who's specifically working on tax credits. His name is Dallas. He's available at any point to help you all if you're still interested in going after them or curious on implications to anything that the city has been working on. Oh, sorry,
Looks like
was
the
there a
mayor
question?
had a
Yes, go
question.
ahead.
Thank you,
Member
Madam Chair.
Hancock, go ahead.
Oh,
Oh, Mayor, go ahead. I'm sorry.
thank you, Madam Chair. I've got a question. I was with Councilmember Hancock yesterday. We were at an opening for a affordable housing apartment development in our city, and the director of CHAFA said something about that, and I'm not defending the big beautiful bill at all, but he said that there is provision that actually expands affordable housing tax credits. Can somebody speak to that? I don't understand what he was talking about.
Yeah, that's a good question. My understanding is that it does not expand that, but let me write that down and I will
Okay,
look up
thank you.
that information for you and I'm happy to get back for you. Full transparency, I don't know all of it. And so there may be questions that you
sure.
all have that I don't know, but I can definitely find somebody that does. So let me just start a quick note really quick and
Yeah.
I will write that down. So it's affordable housing tax credits that you're
Yeah.
interested in?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think the other quick question is what do we know since the CU Anschutz Medical Campus is in the city of Aurora? What do we know about grants from National Institutes of Health and things like that that are important to the campus?
That is a good question. We are tracking that as well. We have a whole team working on that. So let me get you some updated information on that.
Okay.
Any further questions before we have Alyssa move forward?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay.
I have a question
Councilmember
about
Hancock.
thank you, Madam Chair. I had a question about the EV tax credits that are available until September 30th. Are we talking about personal EV bill or automobiles through dealerships, or how is that working?
It is my understanding it is for personal EV. There's both tax credits at the state level as well as the federal level. What we're talking about is the federal level personal EV tax credits through direct pay.
Okay, and Alyssa, before we move forward, I do have a question. When you were talking about, and I hope we get this presentation because.
Yep, I'm happy to share that with you.
Okay, thank you. When you were talking about the Department of Transportation preliminary injunctions, can you just maybe expand on that? Is that some more information that we could get?
Yep, I'm happy to provide that for you. That information will be listed on justsecurity.com. There were a number of preliminary injunctions that went through specifically for the Department of Transportation. The one that was just recently, I'm trying to remember which one was just recently, and I'm happy to go and show you just security if it's helpful.
Is because we have a lot of transportation projects and things that are dealing with transportation. So these injunctions could possibly hinder some of this or have
That's
an impact.
exactly it.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly it. If you have specific questions about projects that you're working on and the implications of these lawsuits, I'm more than happy to look into that for you. I know there's a lot of information there.
Okay, I guess I'll have to maybe get with staff. Councilmember Hancock is the chair of the transportation.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, and I'm on that committee. I think it would be kind of important to see what these impacts are, because we do have some transportation projects. I know we're getting federal money, but what's the impact of this from the local?
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
I'm glad you
Exactly.
asked that, Madam Chair, because I was going to wait till the end, but since you brought it up, I'm thinking, how does that impact our infrastructure projects that we have in the pipeline right now and future projects that we're looking forward to? How will that impact us? So I will be very interested to know the data and statistics on that so that we can prepare should it be an adverse impact on what we're doing. Thank you.
Absolutely. More than happy to help you. I will send my email address in the chat after this presentation. And if there are any specific questions, I'm more than happy to help answer those for you. All right. Thank you for your questions. I appreciate it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but I got to think about things
No,
as I
no
go.
need to apologize. As I said at the beginning, my presentation style is very casual, and I think the questions in the middle are really helpful for me. Okay, so moving on. So this is budget requests. This is a little bit different than the OBABA bill. So this still needs to go to the Dems. This is not finalized, but this is the request as of right now. But again, this will potentially change once the Democrats take a look at it. But as of right now, it is $163 billion in cuts. The major impacts for programs relevant to local governments include public health, housing, environment, and public safety and emergency preparedness. So yeah. And then changes in landscape within discretionary funding. We're seeing funding freezes. Again, as I said earlier, the funding freezes are not as relevant as they were before. We're still seeing some, but not as many. We are seeing some grant terminations. I think the big one here for you all to pay attention to is the changes in terms and conditions. So if you were awarded a grant prior to the new administration and you hadn't made it through contracting yet, we are seeing some changes in terms and conditions. And I just want you all to make sure that you're having your staff really pay attention to that. And just make sure you understand all the terms and conditions with that contract.
And Alyssa, we have a question from the mayor as well. Mayor?
Oh, thank
Yeah.
you. Yeah, I can't see you all, so I appreciate that.
I'm wondering if some, in your presentation, if you could address at some point, in terms of that, what kind of deficit, what kind of shortfall does this create in the state budget? Because we'll see some residual to that, just like in the share of marijuana funds, I think has been reduced to local governments, and so. But what is there a calculation in terms of what the net impact is to the state budget?
Yeah, Mayor, that's a really great question. The state is currently trying to figure that out right now. Because the budget isn't finalized, we don't know the exact impact. We have rough numbers, but we probably won't have exact numbers until closer to the end of August. So I'm happy to circle back with you once we have further information. We have rough ideas based on the Medicaid proposals, as well as SNAP, the marijuana tax, all of that. But I don't have exact numbers for you right now, unfortunately.
And is governor talking about a special session then?
There are conversations about special session, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
The
Alyssa,
good
can
news
you
is
just
we
go
are-
back
oh,
to
sorry,
the
yes.
change in terms and conditions, like why should we make sure that our staff needs to be focused on that? Can you redo that? I interrupted you and I apologize.
No, you're totally fine. Yeah, so we are starting to see changes in terms and conditions. The reason that this is important is that it's specifically important for the grants that had been awarded prior to the administration change, and staff are currently involved in contract negotiations right now. We are seeing changes in the middle of that contract negotiation. So we just want to make sure that if there are changes, that you're paying attention to that and that you understand the implications of that. Does that make sense? Okay, good.
Hancock.
So when you're talking about changes, are you meaning and from the administrative perspective? Because from what I understand, and I like you, Councilmember Lawson, I downloaded the big beautiful bill and I'm going through it. Man, that thing is gnarly. But going through it, I'm looking at, and it seems like that some of the changes are to administrative overhead. It's not to benefits directly, where they're looking at cutting some of the administrative staff and those kind of things with the bills. and has it as it impacts the organizations. Are you able to speak to that at all?
That's exactly it. Most of it is around the administrative allowability of the grants. And so it changes. So for example, if there's a 10% allowability for admin on a grant, sometimes that has changed. I don't have any other than the admin changes. I don't have any other specific ones. I can pull some up for you if that's helpful though.
Well, if you, I don't want to, impact how we're moving forward right now, but if you could send that to us after this presentation, that would be great, because I think it's really important to have people know that we have our eyes on this, and that what is really happening, as opposed to the hyperbole that I'm hearing right now. Folks are, really concerned about cuts to their actual benefits. And I think we need to get in front of this so that we can allay some of the fears that people are having around this, particularly as it impacts us here in Colorado, in the state and at the local level for folks who are receiving benefits.
Yeah, I think that's a good flag. For this specific slide, I'm talking about discretionary funds. So grant funds versus formula funding for individuals. So if your public works department received a grant to redo a bridge and that contract had not been executed prior to the administration and you're still going back and forth on contracting, we are seeing some changes in that terms and conditions. I'm not as familiar with like the Health and Human Services end of funding, so benefits, to really be able to speak on what types of changes we're seeing there. But in terms of grant funds, we are seeing changes there. And I'm more than happy to get more information for you from both ends.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know more about that. Okay, so some good things. We are starting to see opportunities be released. Just, I believe yesterday or the day before, USDOT announced build awards. So build is formally raised. So that's rebuilding America's infrastructure. That's that really big USDOT program that covers a lot of different things. So they just announced awards on that. We are hearing that there will be future awards or future granting rounds for build, which is great. We're also hearing that they're potentially expanding the eligibility around build. So allowing more types of projects to be put under build, which is great. We are also hearing that they are addressing the backlog of awards, which is amazing. Previously to the administration change, there was a huge backlog at awards. Grants were taking a really long time to get awarded, and they're doing a really great job at getting them. Yes, I apologize. Excuse me. Getting through those awards and actually making those awards public. So that's a really great news as well. Any other questions about this slide before I move on?
No, I think you can move forward. Is there any questions from the committee or mayor?
No.
Okay, let's move forward.
Great. All right. Well, changes in landscape and formula funding. I think this is a little bit related to what you all were asking. We did see brief halts on payments, specifically around social services funding. Those have been lifted. Things are moving. Current funding levels as stipulated in IIJA. So we are seeing a reduction in funding levels. Things are unclear. We're not quite sure where things land with the formula awards. So it's something that we are tracking, but we are anticipating funding levels are going to be lower. A desire to increase formula funding and decrease discretionary funding. So this is a little bit controversial, specifically with local governments. One of the things that we saw with IIJA and IRA was increased funding availability for local governments. You all probably felt this. It felt like for a while that there was a huge influx of grants available for cities and counties across the country. We are starting to see a shift in funding being available via grants and being moved to formula funding. In a lot of cases, formula funding is only available for states. There is not as much formula funding available for cities and counties. However, we are seeing some pushback on that for more formula funding to be available for locals. And then things are going back to the basics. It seems like with a lot of these grants, they are simplifying things in terms of how many grants are available. So less specificity around types of grants and making them more broad in eligibility. So kind of going back to what we were talking about with build. Does all of that make sense? Any questions on this?
I have no questions, but I may have some later when we write you some of the questions, but this is a really good.
And I do just want to preface all of this by saying that a lot of this right now is speculation. It's not in writing yet, so things could shift, but this is what we're hearing and this is what we're seeing, and these are the trends that we're observing. Okay, so some mitigation strategies and communication tactics. One of the things that I get a lot from local governments is, well, what can we do? How can we protect ourselves? And here are just some things that I give to all of our local governments. I know the city of Aurora is really large, and so you have, you know, a lot of different tools in your toolbox, but I figured this slide might be helpful. Information is power. You all are doing a great job. You invited me to this presentation. I know that you all are out there trying to really understand all of this to the best of your ability. So this bullet isn't as relevant to you, but information is power. Stay connected with your professional associations and industry groups to stay up to date on changing federal landscapes. Just making sure that you're staying plugged in, having those conversations. There are a lot of unknowns. So our recommendation for local governments right now is to plan conservatively with budgets. This goes to a question earlier. How is the state budget going to impact local government budgets? Right now, we don't have an answer. And so we're just encouraging everyone to stay conservative, do what needs to be done. And when it makes sense, do more than that, but make sure that you're planning for conservative budgets and impacts to your local government budget. Maintain those relationships with your DC delegation and committee members and staff. I know you all do a really great job with that, so we don't really need to hit on that one. And then another one that I'm telling everyone is make sure you're telling your story. Use examples from your community to illustrate the challenges and cutbacks. So if a cut to, I'm just going to use an example, if there's a cut to a specific program that impacts a lot of residents in your community, tell that story, make sure that's getting out there so that we can show how these changes are really impacting communities. And then just a couple federal funding announcements. Right now, there's not a lot of grants that are flowing. We are hearing rumors of other grants. However, these two are confirmed. USDA revolving fund program. There's an approximately $1 million to help communities expand and improve water or wastewater systems. This is open to nonprofit entities and I believe as well local governments. Applications are due August 7th. I do have the link to that NOFO on this presentation. So the presentation will be sent out. You'll have all the information you need there. And then there is currently a program for water technical assistance. So if your community has needs around water, sewage, stormwater, there's a technical assistance program that can help you all figure out what your opportunities are and how to go after them. In terms of things that are not listed on here, and this is just speculation, word of mouth, we don't have any NOFOs or anything in writing yet. We do anticipate another round of build. So build is what RAISE used to be. We also are hearing that there's going to be a small bridge program announced soon. So the acronym is BIP, Bridge Improvement Program. I know we love our acronyms. And BIP actually has two aspects of it. So there's the big bridge project and then the small bridge project. The big bridge, and so many B's together, big bridge just closed last week. But the medium to small size bridge, which I believe the city of Aurora would be eligible for, has more bridges that are eligible for. We don't have an exact date. However, we do anticipate it to being announced in August, is what we're anticipating based on how it went last year. We do think there are potentially going to be some changes around the BCA, but again, that's just speculation. So I just want you all to be prepared if you are planning to go after that one. You may have to make some changes with the BCA. So that is where we are with federal funding. I do want to just put this slide on here for some additional resources. Lawyers for Good Government is doing a really, really great job at supporting local governments. This is less relevant for the city of Aurora. I know you all have a pretty robust legal team. And so I'm telling our small local governments who do not have the same type of resources about Lawyers for Good Government, but you're welcome to check them out. They probably have some webinars that may be helpful for you all and some trainings as well. DOLA has a local community funding guide. This funding guide includes both state and federal grant opportunities. So they're tracking federal and state opportunities, and they're putting them all in one place, which is super helpful. So that is the funding guide. They also just released the Community-Driven Engagement Guide for Community Planning. This assists local agencies in developing best practices for community engagement. So just another resource for you all to have. And then last but not least, DOLA's, they have brought back their bi-monthly local government resource call. So this started in the early COVID era when local governments were coordinating with the state on COVID response, and it has evolved into supporting local governments with all things federal government and all things federal changes. So they just had that call yesterday, and it is bi-monthly. So the next one will be in September. I apologize, I did not update that. I just realized that. But the link, it is linked on there, and it'll take you directly to their website where you can sign up and you can watch old recordings of previous episodes or previous webinars as well. And that is all I have for you. I'm happy to take questions and answer where I can.
Okay, Mayor, Councilmember Hancock, do you have any additional questions? And I'm hoping, Liz, that all the questions that we have asked, and also Alyssa, that we can maybe get the answers to that, these questions and anything. And thank you for giving us your contact information. I hope we get that in case we have additional
I'll
questions.
chat right now.
Okay, Mayor Kaufman.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. So I think my question is not just in any research funding that would go to the CU Anschutz Medical Campus, whether it's NIH or I think most of it would come from NIH, but there may be other entities that I missed. So and then just restate that interested in this any kind of low-income housing tax credit. What is the status of that in terms of our ability as a local government to expand affordable housing?
Perfect. I just wrote those down, and I will make sure I look into that. I just to be completely honest with you, I am not aware of any funding for hospitals. I just moved into a new role, and my previous role was really focusing on IIJA and IRA, and so I'm still getting the landscape of all federal funding and not as versed in hospital funding, but I'm happy to look into.
I'm sorry, just one point of correction, not hospitals, because that's different. And so I think some of those Medicaid issues would really affect hospitals, and there's some other things, but that affect research.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. That health science, medical research.
Got it. Okay, perfect. I just made that note in my sheet.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Hancock.
Thank you for that clarification.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Also, I'm interested in us again recirculating back to the funding that is for transportation infrastructure, bridges, any of those small grants. And I know we'll talk about water in a little while, but just a little bit on those grants that are available for water infrastructure as well, for wastewater, sewage, and those kind of things. If we can include that in the backup when you send those as well. And I really appreciate, and thank you for this presentation. I'm interested in looking at these bi-monthly local government resource calls, going back and seeing what happened previously so that we can, well, particularly for me, so that I can get up to speed on what we're looking at for future opportunities for our city to access any resources that are available to us. Again, you know, the thing with us, the city of Aurora, is we are pretty conservative in how we manage our finances, but it's also good to know if there are opportunities for us going forward that we should leverage those as much as we can.
Absolutely.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Speaking to water infrastructure, we did see a large freeze on Water Smart. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but Water Smart is a big umbrella of water funding. So it's for wastewater, water systems, clean drinking water. A lot of different programs fell under that umbrella. and a lot of them were funded by IIJA. We saw a freeze on all of those grant announcements. However, we are starting to hear that they will potentially be coming back. Again, just verbal confirmation of that. We haven't had anything in writing yet, and we haven't seen any NOFOs. But those programs range in size and are pretty broad in what they can fund. So if water infrastructure is one of your needs, definitely keep your eyes out for water. It's called Water Smart.
And Alyssa, thank you so much for the presentation. I think Councilmember Hancock talked a little bit about the transportation. I am interested though, and I want to make sure that we keep track of the injunctions and how that's going to be impactful. Because if there's some stuff going on with that, then we may not be able to move forward with some things, or we might have to rethink things in local government. So I really want to make sure we keep track of that as well. And then I'm interested in these changes of terms. I just want to make sure I understand it. I know staff might have an idea, but I just want to understand that as well. And what does that really mean and the implications of that? So, so I think you kind of got our questions a little bit. And, that would be great feedback. This was a fantastic presentation. I really do appreciate you coming to the Pfizer committee to give us this information. Because we do get asked a lot of questions from our constituents about how I probably won't say this right, the OBBB.
You've been calling it Obama.
Obama, whatever. I don't even know how to say it. How that's going to impact local government. So any kind of information we can give out to our residents is really important. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would definitely make sure your staff are going to those bi-monthly local government calls. And then if they are not already signed up, sign up for the DOLA newsletters. There's a housing newsletter. There's a Department of Local Government newsletter. So staying in touch there. And then if your staff is not already connected, my office funds a regional grant navigator that's specifically so we have 14 of them around the state. So your Aurora, your regional grant navigator is through Dr. Cog. And so their whole role is to help local governments navigate federal funding. And so if there's a project that you all need funding for, or you need help researching, or you just have questions and you need some help, feel free to reach out to them. I didn't have any information on this slide deck, and I apologize, but I'm happy to add it before it gets sent to you so that you have it.
Yeah, why don't you do that? We have a representative, and I'm the alternate, but we really don't get very many reports. So I don't know really what's happening right now at Dr. Cog, but I used to be on the committee, but now I'm just an alternate. So I'm not sure what's happening, keeping abreast of everything that's with that committee. We do have a representative though from the city council. So.
Great. Well, I will put his contact information on there. And so if there's anything you need, please make sure that you have staff reach out to him. He's a great resource for all of you. And unfortunately, I can't type in the chat. So I take my offer of putting my email address in the chat back, but I will make sure that it's on this presentation so that you're able to get in touch with me.
Okay, thank you so much, Alyssa. Before I go, is there anyone on this Zoom that has a question for Alyssa? I know, Liz, you're on here. You probably took some notes. Is there anything else before we move forward? Okay, I don't hear anything. Thank you so much. This was a great presentation. I really appreciate you coming to the meeting.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too. Bye, Alyssa. Okay. I don't see any, is there any updates? Because this wasn't put on the agenda. So do we have any any state legislative updates? Nothing? Okay. We don't have any water updates? Is there anything else from the committee that they would like to bring up to the lobbyist? On anything that they may want to research? We know we have the subcommittees that are happening, but I know transportation hasn't started yet, looking at the agenda and the time frame. Okay, who's Liz? Sorry.
Hi, Councilmember Lawson. We do have our state lobbyists here that are able to provide an update for everyone.
Okay. Is there, Peggy was shaking her head. Peggy, do you have anything?
Sure. Just a quick update that you guys touched on during Alyssa's presentation. We do expect continued discussions around a special session. The latest rumors are the 3rd or 4th week of August, potentially. I think the question is what will be on the call if we are brought back into special session. There's discussion about SNAP funding and addressing that in the special session, potentially AI legislation in the special session. There had been discussion about decoupling the tax on tips. As you know, the feds removed tax on tips in the big beautiful bill, and the question for the state is whether they're going to remove tax on tip. So there seems to be a little bit of disagreement amongst leadership as to whether that should be addressed in a special session. And then, of course, the big issue is Medicaid funding, because that doesn't go into effect until a year or two down the line. Some of the pieces phase in at different points. We may not need to address that in a special session and can wait until the next regular session. So those are kind of the items that I think leadership and the governor's office are going back and forth on as to whether there should be a special session and what should be a part of that call.
Hey, Mayor, I saw your hand up. Did you have a question?
No, I just wanted, I was going to ask the same question about, that was answered about special session, so thanks.
Okay. Okay.
Councilmember Lawson.
Yes, who's speaking?
Jurinsky.
Oh, Councilmember Jurinsky, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Peggy, will you keep me posted? Well, one, if they're going to call a special session, but two, if they are going to include the no tax on tips, if they're going to allow speakers to sign up for that, I would really like to know about that. What did the state do with no tax on overtime?
So they addressed that actually in an amendment late in session on Representative Garcia's bill. So the state, as I recall, and we can go back and look at it, but as I recall, they did decouple it so that Colorado can continue to tax overtime. And yeah, but let me double check that. And I don't know if Tatsi and Cammie have any additional information, but that was my recollection on it. And I'll go back and double check that though.
Okay, yeah, I don't remember hearing what the outcome was on the tax on overtime. So if you'll just let me know, and then let me know if they do have a special session. All I care about is if it includes the no tax on tips. I would just like to know that.
You bet. Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. There was some discussion about, and I think it was more to the cities that had raised their minimum wage, of course, during the middle of the pandemic, and that I think Denver lost something like 85% of the restaurants last year were in Denver, and there was some solutions to try and help them. Did the legislature do anything about that?
Yeah, there was legislation that was brought by the Restaurant Association, and I may defer to Councilwoman Jurinsky in this too, because I know she's got her finger on that pulse. There was legislation that was brought by the Restaurant Association. It was very much watered down at the legislature. Denver came in guns a-blazing opposing it. And you're right, it was local governments that have a higher minimum wage than the state minimum wage. And it allows those local governments now to determine the tipping and what the tax credit is for tipping. So unfortunately, I think from the Restaurant Association's perspective, it did not address some of their concerns. It was really, really gutted. And again, I don't know if Councilwoman Jurinsky wants to weigh in because I'm sure she knows more.
Councilmember Jurinsky, do you have any response? Councilmember Jurinsky, do you have any response?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I know from the Tavern League's perspective, and we obviously talked to the Restaurant Association. I mean, it effectively, I mean, they killed it, is pretty much what happened.
Yep, it
What
was
is-
sketchy dramatically.
Mayor, did you have a comment?
Well, yeah, Councilmember Jurinsky, can you recall how it was introduced initially?
So how it was reduced initially, so there's the FICA tab.
Introduced initially, what was the initial plan again? Peggy said it got watered down, but do you know anything about what the initial plan was? The bill
Well-
did initially?
Yeah, so there's what's called the FICA tip credit, and it's what employers who have tipped employees get to claim every year. And what it would have done is, like she said, cities that had a higher minimum wage than what the state's minimum wage is, it would allow them to determine what that tip credit would be. So for the businesses in Denver specifically, since they have a higher tipped minimum wage period than the state, they could have offered those restaurant owners the ability to claim a higher amount for the FICA tip credit, which actually is a huge tax credit for employers that have tipped employees. That's what the Restaurant Association was seeking to do. But yeah, I mean, they slaughtered it. That's essentially what happened. So they were seeking to offer this tax credit as a higher tax credit back to the employers of tipped employees. But it was, I mean, it was gutted.
Okay.
So Topsy or Tammy, do you have any comments about or anything that you want to update us on? I know I'm interested in the committees. I know that transportation hasn't started just yet, or it's coming up maybe next month. I don't have the dates.
Yeah, thank you, Councilmember Lawson. We will be going to those interim committee meetings and TLRC does start next month. And until then, we really don't have any updates on any of these committees that have been going on. The Water Committee has met once, Water and Ag has met once, but they will be back again in a couple of weeks. And then we'll see how that meshes with the special session schedule.
Okay, Mayor?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that I think there's one of these interim committees that might be on about mental health. And so a big issue, and I think we have a new legislator, state representative, I'm trying to remember her name, who just got appointed recently.
Jackson.
And she's, I think she might be on that interim committee and very interested in the issue of particularly inpatient, expanding the number of inpatient mental health beds. Do you know anything about that interim committee?
Well, let me just look while we're talking to see what that schedule is and make sure that she is on it. I think you're right, Mayor Kaufman. So, while we're chatting here, I'll look that up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I guess going forward, we'll make sure that through the updates that we have monthly, that we'll get some information on these interim committees. The mayor is interested in the mental health one, transportation. I think they're in water. That's all I've seen that was pretty much for the city of Aurora. Everything else seems like it's a little bit outside the scope of what we're kind of looking at right now. So
there's the treatment of persons with behavioral health disorders and criminal justice meets Friday, or the 25th, next week. And it looks like that's the only one that's going on right now. They canceled so many of the interim committees because of budget constraints, so it's really a light schedule.
okay, just whatever can come out of the, provide us the information as you go on those to the committee.
And Representative Jackson is the chair of that particular interim committee.
Good.
Okay.
And we'll certainly get you a copy of all the bills that are voted out of those committees, even to your point, if they're outside of our scope.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're watching them and that nothing unusual has popped up.
Okay.
That'd be
If I
great.
could,
Thank you, Peggy. Yes, Mayor?
Madam Chair, real quick. I just want to thank the team here for all your work on Councilmember Hancock's proposal that she was involved in with State Representative Tatone, and I think we want to acknowledge his work and maybe can't remember who the state Senate sponsor was, but probably come up with some kind of nice
Excellent.
plaque to come down there and do a little ceremony and just in recognition for the work they did on it. But
That would be nice.
really appreciate that, as well as getting what was the one killed at 14? I'm trying to remember the one that would have stripped our authority.
1147.
1147. I'm sorry. I'm worried that's going to come back, but it probably won't come back. But that's just the way it is. But thank you for defeating that. I appreciate or getting the governor to veto it. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
And Cammie, do you have any report before we move up to see if Kathy has something for water? Okay. Kathy, do you have anything that you would like to report out for water?
I do not today, so I'm just here for questions.
Okay. If there's no questions for Kathy, none.
I have one,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Uh-huh.
Kathleen, you saw that previous presentation about the 2 water grants. Does that impact our city directly? Is it something that we're going to try to go for?
We have applied for previous Water Smart grants, and we actually received a $5 million Water Smart grant for our Prairie Waters project extension with the radial well. And then we are watching for future Water Smart grant applications and possibilities. Right now, they're all on hold, so we're just waiting for those notices to come out.
They're on hold because
of the budgeting and the federal reconciliation and then the federal appropriations. So if you go to the Bureau of Reclamation's website, which we go to every week just to double check, they just have it still pending. What we're hearing from Bureau of Reclamation staff is that those notice of funding opportunities will be coming out, that they're just on hold for today.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right. Thank you, Kathy. Any miscellaneous matters of consideration from the committee or anyone that is on this Zoom? Okay. When I don't hear anything. Okay, our next meeting is going to be August 15th. Oh, Mayor, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm sorry.
Oh, I thought you had your hand up. Our next meeting
Councilmember
is
Lawson,
going to be.
that was me. I had my hand up.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, Liz.
No, it's all right. Not a problem at all. Just wanted to give a quick update to the committee about our congressional directed spending request that we had put in and worked on. So I'm very pleased to say we have been highly successful, specifically in the T-HUD bill in the House. So we currently have appropriations funding listed for our fire apparatus ladder truck, our flashover simulator, also for fire, and then our 3 transportation projects we put in for fiscal year 25, the Havana Street Corridor project, Box Elder, and Montview. All of those projects have received funding in the House. We are currently still waiting on the lift station project for water, which was a sewage wastewater project, and the public safety drones. Both of those projects were put in through our Senate delegation. So we do have to wait for the Senate appropriations to come out to see if we got funding for those. But pretty successful so far. So just wanted to share that.
We're making some strides up in the federal government. Awesome.
Way to go. Way to
Yeah.
go, Liz.
Yep. Well, with that note, our next meeting is August 15th at 2025 at 11 a.m. I hope to see everybody. We will have another presentation during the summers. I do these presentations because it's important to know what we're doing and regionally at the federal level and also at the state level. So with that being said, everybody have a wonderful weekend and thank you for being on the advisory committee meeting today.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.